If a fracking operation was to mess this up, it could never be replaced. And there's very few places in this area that you can find that has the different types of trees and wildlife that we have here. Notice these lines of evergreens. I planted over 12,000. I went around 20 acres and planted over 20,000 white pine, loblolly pine, and cedar, red cedar, white cedar, to give me a border, a privacy screen around my property. I figured in later years that the land around me would get cut out and developed, and pretty much that's what's happening.
We are very responsible with the environment, that we are very careful to restore any damage that's done through truck traffic or through surface improvements that we make on these properties, that we restore them back to their original state. We clean as we go with the industry. That's what we require of the American Petroleum Institute, American Natural Gas Association, and all their affiliate members when they come here. We put very stringent standards in place through the state rulemaking framework. I chair the State Mining and Energy Commission, and we are very conscious about protecting the environment. We live in this state, we live in this county, some of us, and we want to make sure that our water and our air are kept clean. We don't have any reason, financial or otherwise, to want to pollute our air and our water. And citizens should be reassured by that I'm a locally elected official. My name, my reputation, and my longevity in this county depend on us doing it well and doing it responsibly. Well, we typically like to refer to the more scientific name of hydraulic fracturing. There are media and other types that refer to the short title as fracking, but we prefer the longer title of hydraulic fracturing to specify that phase of the oil and gas operation that specifically refers to stimulation of a well, which generates gas and oil deposits that can be taken to market. Hydraulic fracturing is one very small part of a very much larger operation that is involved in bringing oil and gas out of the ground, as well as other hydrocarbon elements, so that they can be used in industrial activity and for fuels of all sorts. We have a more appropriate term that we like to refer to as horizontal drilling. And that is actually the full process of creating the well, the vertical well, turning it horizontal, stimulating the well, and removing the hydrocarbons from the well. So that's typically referred to as horizontal drilling.
Mr. Harris, how are we doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Appreciate you having me.
Oh man, anytime, anytime. So what can you tell us about fracking? What is fracking? What is that?
Well, fracking is a slang term used for hydraulic fracturing, which is a method of extracting gas from shale formations that was laid down millions of years ago. We have a strip of shale here in North Carolina that runs from the mountains down through the middle of the state, and North Carolina, here in Lee County, Chatham County, Moore County is what is known as the sweet spot. We seem to be the area that they suspect that they can find the most gas.
Now you say suspect, so they don't fully know? It's just a...
Well, you never know until you drill. My grandfather got this property from his father, John Spivey. John ran a country store over here on the Plank Road. This property is located about halfway between South Plank Road and Blackstone Road. And this is Little Pocket Creek that runs through the bottom down here.
So how much fracking will be going on around here if all the laws and stuff go through?
Well, that depends on how many people lease their property for fracking. It's in a given area, what you're trying to do is, with this fracking, Senate Bill 820, if 60%, and that's just the percentages and the acreages on this is kind of up in the air right now. They're looking at a drilling unit or a drilling area as being 1 square mile. That's 640 acres. If the gas company can lease 384 acres out of the 640, that's 384 acres is 60%. Then they would be able, against the landowner's wishes, to simply take over the other 256 or whatever for the without any permission at all. It's called compulsory pooling. If your neighbors around you lease and then you don't wish to, when a certain amount of once they get a certain amount of the acreage, then they can come in and frack you whether you want to be fracked or not.
So that they're definitely saying that there's shale formations under this land, though.
Yes, the maps, the map that I gave you has a light color of an area that's shaded in, along with the showing the lands that have been leased and the lands that are separate estates. And the strip of shale, my property here would be at the southeastern edge of the what they consider their play, or where the shale is lies in the area.
And anybody can go find this map. Where is it at?
It's at the you can get it at the Lee County Map Office, GIS. Don Kosovics, the gentleman that does this stuff, has done a wonderful job. In fact, a lot of the other counties are coming to him for information, but he has different overlay maps that shows the areas that have been leased. It shows the areas which are separate or severed estates. This is where people have purchased land, and many of them, without realizing it, did not realize that they were only purchasing the land. They didn't get the mineral rights to go with it. And when you have a severed estate, the state legislature is saying that the people that own the mineral rights have the right to go after those minerals, and that includes the right to come onto the surface that you have purchased and do as they darn well please in order to get to those minerals.
Compulsory pooling is on the books today. It's part of the statutes of the state of North Carolina, and it's there to protect landowner rights. And we intend to continue using compulsory pooling to protect landowner rights, whether they want to drill or they don't want to drill. We want to make sure that everyone's rights are observed or respected. We have methods by which the drilling units can be allocated so that we can carve the drilling unit around someone that wants to opt out of the drilling. We also have methods by which we can have pew clauses written into the contract so that someone may want certain minerals removed but not others. So there are some things we can do strategically and surgically around the county that will allow landowner rights to be observed. There are some rare occasions around the country, and potentially in Lee County, where someone may choose, because of political or other reasons, to want to stop the industry from developing, that may try certain techniques that would stop other landowners from being able to benefit from the oil and gas resources they have under their land. In those cases, we may have to invoke compulsory pooling to allow certain individuals to gather profit from their resources while others are trying to keep them from doing that. We hope not to have to go to that, but that is a potential occurrence in North Carolina. We hope that we won't have to go through that.
I've always enjoyed getting out, walking around in the woods or being in the woods. I grew up on the Plank Road, and my mother's aunt owned about 1,000 acres that joined us. And I lived in those woods. Come home from school, toss them books, and hit the woods.
You can't argue or convince someone when emotion is a part of the conversation, because the emotion tends to obscure the facts or the logic, and the question about whether to drill and when to drill and you know how deep to drill. Those questions are best based on scientific fact, not opinions and emotion. I know it's an emotional concern to anti-drilling activists that they feel like their rights are being lost or their voice isn't being heard, and it becomes an emotional discussion as opposed to a logical discussion. We try to get past that. So that's the first challenge, is to make it a logical, practical argument and use scientific evidence and experience from around the country to make the argument.
There's a lot of information out there, pro and con. The thing is, do you want to take a chance on moving this in next door to you?
Me?
Do you want to take a chance on having your well water possibly poisoned with pollutants that's going to make you and your family sick, or your well water become unusable? Now, the companies, the way this Senate Bill 820 is written, if contamination of water, an aquifer that your well is on, is proven to be associated with a fracking operation, the driller is required to replace your water supply for 10 years. It also provides, if your well becomes contaminated within 5,000 feet of a drilling operation, that the contamination would be considered as coming from that well. But if you're 5,100 feet or 5,200 feet,
You're out of luck.
then you're out of luck. However, horizontal fracking can extend for several miles.